accomplish what they're really capable of accomplishing. If we could fully tap our potential, what might be different for us? Let me ask you, do we have the courage? Do you have the courage to ask yourself that question? You know, if I really did and performed up to my potential, if I really acted out my potential, if I really, in every aspect of my life, lived up to my potential, golly, think about how different life might be. How would life change if each and every day we performed up to our full potential? Y'all, and I'm not just talking about at work. What if you lived up to your full potential as a spouse, with your significant other? What if you lived up to your full potential as a parent, as a friend, as a daughter, as a son? What if, as a coworker, as a teammate, what if we lived up to our full potential? What really would happen in our life? That's a great question. What would be different 6 months, 3 years, 5 years down the road if every day we were at our best? What would happen? Y'all listen, most of us, we have these two lives: the life we're living and the life we're capable of living. Now, y'all, let yourself think about that a minute. How sad would it be to get 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road and realize we're living this life, but we could have been living this life? And I'm not just talking about material wealth and possessions. I'm talking about hope and purpose and fulfillment. What happens if you get down to the end of your career and you're not fulfilled whatsoever? How sad would that be? Most of us have two lives: the life we're living and the life we're capable of living. So today we're going to talk about how do we navigate from the life we're living into the life we're capable of living. Listen, the number one factor holding us back from achieving that, you want to know? The number one factor is, okay, well, here's what it's not, okay? I'll tell you what it is in a minute, but here's what it's not. It's not that we don't know enough. It's not that we're not smart enough. It's not that we don't have enough information. For goodness sake, we got more information flooding at us all the time than ever before in the history of mankind. So it's not for a lack of knowledge or intellect or information. It's not that we even need a new strategy or some new idea that nobody's ever thought about it. We don't even need that. We don't need a larger connection of people. We don't need that. We don't need to even work harder or have more luck, if there is such a thing. It's none of that. The number one factor holding us back is execution, or better said, the lack thereof. Execution is the single greatest market differentiator, and execution is simply doing the things we know to do when we need to do them. That's all it is. We do the things we know we need to do, we do them with excellence, and we do them when they need to be done. That's it. It's the greatest market differentiator. This is Ann Loftman. She is a financial planner, analyst with this company in Houston. And in this book, The 12-Week Year, he writes a story about her. And I don't do it justice if I don't read it. So I'm just going to read it to you real quickly. Ann Loftman works with Mass Mutual in Houston. And when her managing partner introduced the 12-week year to the agency, kind of like I'm doing to you, Ann Loftman said, you know what, I want to get involved in that. So she made a choice to embrace the principles and the concepts that we're about to go through. And when she got involved, she started working at it. And in the end, Ann experienced a 400% increase in production and became the first female associate of the year in the 103-year history of Mass Mutual. This company had been in business 103 years and never before had a female been named associate of the year. But Ann Loftman was named associate of the year after she implemented the principles of the 12-week year. And here's what's interesting. and didn't start to work with more affluent clients. She didn't write bigger cases or expand her target market, and simply focused on improving her execution by doing what she already had been doing, just doing it more steadily. By consistently executing the critical few tasks and strategies that most supported her success, she was able to create this huge increase without working longer hours. Wow. And what did she do? She implemented the principles that we're about to go over. Y'all, execution, it's the single greatest differentiator. It is for individuals and it is for companies. No excuses, no explanation. You don't win on emotion, you win on execution. That's Tony Dungy, football coach. Julian Hall, entrepreneur. Ideas are yesterday, execution is today. Excellence will see you into tomorrow. How do companies continue to grow and explode through the market? Because they execute with excellence. How do salespeople rise to the top? They execute with excellence. How do musicians rise to the top? They execute with excellence. Execution with excellence sees us into tomorrow. Ideas are a commodity, Michael Dell says. Execution of them, that's something. Ideas are a dime a dozen. Executing them is not. Steve Jobs, to me, ideas are worth nothing unless they're executed. They're just a multiplier. Execution is worth millions. It's not what you know. It's not even who you know. It's what you implement. It's what you do that counts. The things that keep a business ahead of the competition is excellence in execution. How does Thrive move past the competition? How does Thrive do that? Because you as a team execute with excellence in each of your specific endeavors within the company. Thomas Edison is one of my favorite quotes on execution. Having a vision for what you want is not enough. A vision without execution is hallucination. Y'all, this is the life we're living. This is the life we're capable of. This is the life we want to live over here. How do we get there? What do we do to live into that life that we're capable of living into? Well, the one word is execution. But let me give you the overview because it's a process. And when you engage in the process consistently with commitment, it starts driving the results. So we're going to look at each of these steps: vision, the 12-week goal, the what if, the plan, the weekly routine, and then how do we make sure it happens at the end. So that's what we're going to go through here over the next little bit. Okay, let's look at vision. So number one, you have to have this vision. Now, sometimes vision can get, I don't know, it was hard for me sometimes thinking about vision because it seemed like this nebulous thing out there that I couldn't grasp, okay? But it's so important to have it. Look, y'all, vision, we have to have this vision, if we're going to achieve a level of performance that's greater than when we are, we've got to have this vision for the future that's bigger than the present. We got to see something out here that we want, that we feel led to, that we're called to, that's our purpose, and we've got to be connected to it, and it's got to be so much bigger than where we are today, because without the compelling vision, there's no reason to go through the pain of change. And trust me, to get from here to here is not easy. If it were, everybody would and their dog would be doing it. It's not easy. It's worth it. It's not easy, right? So you got to have a big enough vision that compels us to go through the pain and the difficulty and the circumstances that we're going to have to, that change creates, in order to live into that. Now, we're going to talk about change a lot tomorrow. I'm going to visit with you tomorrow afternoon about the ABCs of adaptive leadership. How do we live in uncertain times? How do we embrace change and live through it? So we're going to talk about that tomorrow afternoon. But vision, look, y'all, why is this so important? Because when we have a vision, when we have vision is connected to your purpose. And when you have a purpose out here that you've identified, and you have this vision out here that you're running toward, it helps you get focused. Some of us are ADD and it's hard to get focused, right? Some of us can get really focused, but if we're not careful, we get focused on the wrong things and we can get a lot done. It just doesn't mean anything what we get done. So y'all, vision gives us the right thing to be focused on, and then we engage in focus and concentration to move toward the right thing. Vision gives us that focus, and it inspires us and others to move forward. Vision is bigger than something we can be motivated to do. Motivation comes from the outside. We have to be inspired if we're going to achieve a real vision. And what vision does is it gives us hope for what can and what should be. We have to have vision for what can and what should be, not what is. There's a lot of things in our society that should not. Vision is the only way we live past those. Martin Luther King said, our lives begin to end the day we remain silent about things that matter. When we have vision, it gives us hope. And when we have hope, we have power in the present to do that which is difficult and painful and new to us, even though it's difficult and painful and new, and we're insecure about it. We don't have a confidence in it, but we will do it anyway because the vision is big enough. The hope for it is big enough. We see things as they should be, not as they are, and we move toward them because we have this hope and this inspiration and this aspiration to make a difference about a purpose, about a vision that's important to us. I hope this is making sense to you. Simon Sinek says, look, to inspire his vision, he wrote Start With Why. And his vision is to inspire people to do what inspires them so that together we can change the world. Y'all, what inspires you? He wants to inspire you to do that so that together, when we do what inspires us, it's filling our mission. You know what inspires us is when we're at our best. When you're at your best, who are you to other people? When you're at your best, who are you to other people? When you answer that question, it gives you some insight into what your purpose is, which is connected to your vision. Here's mine: to encourage others to find and fulfill their calling so they influence well and bear healthy fruit. Y'all, as a husband, I want to encourage my wife to live into her calling and her purpose so that she influences others well, and so that she is fruitful in her in the way that she lives life in the lives of other people. As a dad, I want my boys to live into their calling. As a coworker, as a consultant, as a friend, as a brother, as a son, I want to help people. I want to encourage them. So vision, y'all, it's bigger than anything that we can do, certainly in 12 weeks, probably in a year, maybe even a lifetime. That's what vision is. So what's yours? What's yours? Take a picture of this. What's yours? You're not going to be able to write it down just like that. Hopefully you may have been thinking about it. What's your purpose? Why are you here? What's your vision? Y'all, it starts with that, and you got to find it. You got to find it, right? And if you want a resource for that, get this book right here. Can y'all see this? Yes, no, yes, up and down, shake your head. Can you see this? Okay, great. It's called Find Your Why. It's also written by Simon Sinek. If you want a resource for digging into what your vision and your purpose is, get that book and read it. Find your why. Okay. Now, here's what helps you begin. When you find your why, when you find the purpose, what happens is you begin to get priorities within that purpose, right? And your so if my purpose is to encourage others, well, I have priorities that come out of that purpose. My wife and I sat down a number of years ago and we identified 4 priorities. The 5th one there, friends. We just added friends this year. Because what we realized during COVID is that we took friends for granted. I'm ashamed to admit that, but we did. We didn't realize how valuable our friends were until we couldn't be with them during COVID. So these are our priorities. They don't need to be yours, but these are ours. The most important question is, what are yours? And I'm going to ask you to write down these priorities. Now, y'all listen to me. How do you know it's a priority? Let me suggest this is how you know it's a priority. If it's important enough to you that you're going to refuse to fail at it. I refuse to fail at my marriage. I refuse. I refuse to fail at taking care of my health. Now, that doesn't mean I don't get sick, and doesn't mean, but to the best of my ability, I'm going to take care of my health. I refuse to fail my friends. The priorities, they're things that are so important to you that you refuse to fail at them. What are they for you? This is just what they are for me. What are they for you? That's the most important thing, is write them down. What are your priorities? All right. Now, within those priorities, you need an annual goal for each one of them. What do you want to do in 2021 related to health and fitness? What do you want to do in 2021 related to your career under finances, right? Maybe it's work goals. Maybe it's a financial goal, like paying a car off, paying a credit card off, buying a house, investing in rental property, whatever your financial goal is, it's somehow connected to your career, right? So what is an annual goal that you want to achieve? But then the most important thing is to identify some 12-week goals. And the 12-week goal is established so that as you accomplish this 12-week goal, you're making your way toward the annual goal. You're making your way toward it in 12-week increments. So for each priority, you have an annual goal and you have a 12-week goal. And you reevaluate the 12-week goal at the end of the 12 weeks, and then you reset them for the next 12 weeks. All right? So let's look at just fitness and finances today. I believe, and you can disagree with me, obviously, but I believe that every one of us should have a fitness goal and a finance goal at a minimum, right? A health goal. Without our health, we lose everything. So every one of us ought to have at least a fitness goal and a finance goal. So I'm going to ask you to write down one 12-week goal for fitness and one for finances. Where would you like to be 12 weeks from now in a health goal? Now, that might be, I want to lose X amount of weight, or I want to weigh a certain amount, or I want to run a 5K at the end of 12 weeks. I want to be able to walk 2 miles without stopping at the end of 12 weeks. Or I want to ride my bicycle 60 miles at the end of 12 weeks. Whatever your goal is, figure out a goal for fitness. One 12-week goal for fitness. Write that down, please. And then write down a goal for finances. It might be, if you're in sales, I want to sell X amount. If you're not in sales, pick a goal within your department that you want to hit. Maybe, like I said earlier, it's paying off a credit card. It's putting a down payment on a house. Whatever it is, Pick a financial goal. I had a person 2 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, their fitness goal was to quit smoking. And one of their friends wrote me and said, so far, 3 weeks in, they haven't smoked. What's your goal? What is it? Right? Write 2 of them down, one for fitness and one for finances. All right, now, here's my question. Once you write a goal down, somebody unmute and answer this, okay? Once you write a goal down, what is the next thing we typically think about? We write the goal down. What's the next question we ask ourselves and start thinking about?
When should we start?
When should we start? Okay, good one. Any other thoughts?
How to get there?
How to get there. That's usually what I did. Before I read the 12-week year, I thought that you set the goal and then you develop a plan. How am I going to get there? Develop the plan and when am I going to start? That's exactly what I thought. But Brian Moran in 12-week year, he says, how is not the second question. How is the third question. The second question is, what if we get it? What if we get that goal? Y'all look at this. What if I achieve this goal? Start writing that down. What's this going to do for me? How will my life be different if I hit that goal? If I'm able to walk 2 miles without stopping 12 weeks from now, how's that going to make me feel? What kind of improvements in my health am I going to get? How much better am I going to be able to sleep at night? How much more productive am I going to be during the day because I've gotten more rest? How's my life going to be different when I achieve this goal? How will my family's life be different? Start thinking about these things and writing the answers down. Because here's what this does for you, y'all. What if gives you permission to entertain the possibility and begin to connect with the benefits. It opens the door to your future. You automatically begin to shift from impossible to possible thinking. In other words, it gives your brain permission to believe that you can do that, whatever that goal is. It gives your brain permission to believe you can do it. A lot of us have set New Year's resolutions for a long time, and we've quit doing it because every year the same thing happens. We start off strong, but then before you know it, we're forget it. And then we just say, oh, what's the use? Y'all, what if is going to give you the permission to believe it's possible? So start write down 1 or 2 what ifs for each of your goals. You got a finance goal, you got a fitness goal that we're working on here. So write down 1 or 2 what ifs. What if you hit that? What if you pay that college debt off? What if you did that? What's that? How's that going to make you feel? What are you going to be able to do with the money that you've been using to pay college debt or pay down the credit card or make a down payment on a house? How's it going to make you feel to tell your spouse or hey, honey, we got enough money to make a down payment? Y'all, what if? Write those down. We're going to come back to them in a minute, but they're critical. It's a key component to success in achieving the goals. So y'all, we've looked at vision, the 12-week goal, what if. All right, now we're going to look at the 12-week plan. Now we're going to get into how do we go about making this work. All right, so why do we need a 12-week plan instead of a 12-month plan? Well, because if on January 1, I say, okay, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year, and then my mom brings out her famous pecan pie with Bluebell ice cream on it, man, I'm going to eat that pie, right? because what I do on day one has little bearing on where I am day 365. And so I have little motivation to stick to my goals because I'm not even trying to hit the goal for 365 more days. But if we shorten that down to 12 weeks, what I eat today has direct impact on where I am 12 weeks from now. If I walk a quarter of a mile today, it has direct impact on if I'm able to walk 5 miles at the end of 12 weeks, right? Every day is important in 12 weeks. So we can take every day and we can react to it, or we can proactively approach every day, each day. And the 12-week plan, it gives us this proactive viewpoint on it and this proactive plan for each day. So why do we need the 12-week plan? Because every day matters. And it's really obvious to us when we shorten it down to 12 weeks. Here's what it does. It also identifies the minimum actions that are critical to hit the goal. What's the minimum things that we need to do to hit this goal? That's what the 12-week plan is going to identify for you. And it draws focus to these vital few actions. The minimum actions are called the vital few actions. They're the lead indicators that drive results. An indicator tells us what's about to happen. If I put my left blinker on, that's an indicator that I'm about to turn left, right? And so this indicator tells me what's about to happen. If I don't change my oil forever, that indicator tells me I'm going to have a problem with my engine. There are indicators that tell us about results. Well, what are the indicators? What are the vital few actions that we need to do that are going to drive us to the results we're after? It's called the Pareto principle. Do you remember that from school? The old 80-20 rule, that 20% of our efforts drive 80% of our results. Well, if that's true, what are those? And that's what we're going to identify, because they help us get the right things done every day. It helps us get the right things done every day. Y'all, in 1912, Bethlehem Steel was run by a gentleman named Charles Schwab. And he felt like that his employees were not as efficient as they needed to be. And so he hired this efficiency expert named Harvey Lee. And he asked Harvey to come consult and talk with his team about being more efficient. And he said, "What would you charge me for that?" And Harvey Lee says, "Well, Mr. Schwab, why don't you just let it go for 3 months and see what you think it's worth?" Now, y'all, that's confident, right? Well, Charles Schwab said, "Okay, we'll do it." So Harvey Lee meets with the top executives at Bethlehem Steel. And he says, "Okay, everybody, listen, here's what I want you to do. Take out a piece of paper, and I want you to write down the 6 most important things for you to do tomorrow. 6 most important things for you to do tomorrow. Write them down. Then prioritize them. Now, tomorrow, I want you to do number 1 until you're finished, and then do number 2. And don't try to do 2 while you're doing 1. Don't try to jump down to 4. Go in order, do 1 thing at a time. And if you get 4 things done, then put 5 and 6 at the top of the list for tomorrow and add 4 more. And do that every night. And then start the next morning, number 1, and work your way down." 3 months later, Charles Schwab wrote Harvey Steel. That's not his name. Anyway, he wrote Harvey Lee. He wrote Harvey Lee a check for $25,000 in 1912. Y'all, with 3% inflation, that's $500,000 today. $500,000 is what he paid him for that simple advice. Plan your day tomorrow before you stop today. Prioritize it and do 1 thing at a time. Y'all, those of us who are linear sequential and we get it done people, if we're not careful, we'll get a lot of stuff done, but it'll be wrong stuff and we'll get nowhere. Those of us that are kind of ADD and we don't think about that, we might know what to do, but we never get it done. And so we don't execute. So y'all, listen, here's the thing. We need this 12-week plan, and we need these vital few actions so that every day we get the right things done. It helps us plan carefully because everything's not a priority. You can't do 15, you only need to do 6, whatever that is. Everything is not a priority. Keep it simple. So we need this 12-week plan so that we can hone in on the right things to get done every day. So how do we develop it? Well, we brainstorm the tactics, what's required to accomplish the goal. And we might have 20, 25 things when we brainstorm them, all right? Then you narrow it down to the vital few. What are the vital few things that if we do these, we're going to achieve 80% of our results? It's going to drive it. We don't succeed on accident, you guys. We succeed on purpose. And it's by knowing these vital few things and executing them with excellence. And that's how we move toward achieving it. And so, y'all, 3 years ago, whatever it was, I started talking with the Thrive sales team about this. And you know what we did? We came up with what's called the Thrive 5. Okay. These are the vital few actions that your sales team does every day. They do these every day. Now, the ones that are at the top of the charts, they do them every day. Those that aren't, maybe they don't. I'm not sure. But y'all, these are the 5 things that we agreed as a sales team. You know what? As a salesperson at Thrive, if I plan tomorrow before I go home today, if I do one thing every day to get a little bit better, I read about sales, or I read about digital marketing industry, or I read case studies about how Thrive has helped other companies, so that when I engage a prospect, I know stories that I can tell that prospect that, hey, we've helped this company. Here's how we can help you. So we do one thing every day to sharpen the axe. We use these power words in every meeting. There's certain language, there's certain vocabulary that when we use them, other people attribute wisdom to us. They attribute authority to us just by using certain words. So they have a list of these words next to their computer screen, or they should. And then we get proposals out within 48 hours, and we ask for business in each meeting. So these are the 5 things. Look, if a salesperson at Thrive does these things every day consistently, they're going to hit their goals. And if they don't, they're either not doing them or we need to tweak them a little bit. But guess what? Whether you're in sales or you're not in sales, you have goals at work. And there's certain things that if we do them consistently every day, it's going to drive the results. They're lead indicators that tell us what's going to happen if we just execute them with excellence consistently. Okay. Now, here's for fitness. All right. So here's my suggestion. I don't care what your health goal is. I really don't. Whatever it is, I would submit to you that if you get enough sleep every night, if you drink enough water, if you follow an eating routine, whatever the routine is that you follow, and if you exercise 30 to 60 minutes a day, 4 days a week, if you do those 4 things, you'll hit your health goal. It's not complicated. Not easy. And not easy, but it's not complicated. All right.
How do you stay committed?
Yeah, great question. Who is that? Who just asked that?
Michelle from the AM team. I have ADHD, and commitment is something that I struggle with. How do you stay accountable? I think you're going to speak to accountability then.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that, Michelle. If you'll just be patient with me, okay? I will get there. But this, these are the vital few things for your fitness goal. The point is, identify the key things, brainstorm them, narrow them down to a few tactics, and then start executing. Okay, so here we are. Now, we've got the vision, we got the 12-week goal, we got our what ifs, we now got our vital few actions. Now we need the weekly routine. How do we go about doing this every week? Well, there's 3 main things in the weekly routine. All right, it's called process control. But just simply put, these are tools that you can use to make sure you're getting the right things done. So number 1 is the weekly plan. Then we're going to scorecard it. And then we have these weekly ownership meetings. All right. So let me tell you about each one. The weekly plan. Here's what this does. It takes your vital few actions and turns them into this weekly plan. It includes those tactics that have to get done every week to hit the goal. and it's the cornerstone to making this all work. So those 5 things, those are the weekly plan. I'm going to do these 5 things every day, all week, in your finance goal, in your fitness goal, in whatever goal you got. I'm going to do these things consistently every day. All right. And then you're going to score yourself. Y'all, measurement drives execution. If we know that we're keeping score, we're more motivated to execute. All right. I'm the kind of guy, if we're not going to keep score, I'm not interested in playing the game. Right. Why play the game if you don't keep score? Measurement drives execution. The scorecard looks at both your lead indicators and your lag indicators, the results. But here's the key to the scorecard. When we're in sales, sometimes we want to just focus on the results. When you're in delivery, you may just want to focus on what are you delivering. What we've got to focus on are the tactics that drive the results. What are the vital few things that have to be done that are going to drive these results, because it's the most accurate predictor of our success. Did I do what I said was most important that week? This is what scoring tells us. How did I do on this, on my tactics? Because how I did on them, the score I got is going to indicate to me how well I'm driving toward the results. And then we've got to be willing to tell other people about it, to be part of what I call weekly ownership meetings. The book calls them weekly accountability meetings, but I like ownership, weekly ownership meetings. They're short meetings that are held weekly with ideally 2 other people, you and 2 others. So 3 people. You get on a call every week, 20, 30 minutes at the most, and each person says, okay, here's where I am in week 1 or week 3 or week 8. Here's where I am making progress toward my 12-week goal. This is where I am making toward the goal. Here's how I'm tracking toward the metrics. And here's my execution score for this week. In other words, I got enough sleep 4 out of 5 nights. I drank enough water 3 out of 7, or 4. Anyway, 5 out of 7 nights I got enough sleep. 3 out of 7 days I drank enough water. Anyway, you score the execution of those items. You score it. I'll show you an example in a minute. And then what are my plans for the next week? So each person reports on how they did for the week, and the other 2 people listen and encourage and share some tips or some ideas on how to improve, how to get better, right? So a weekly ownership meeting, you meet with these other 2 people and you share what happened last week, and you talk about what you're getting ready to do in the upcoming week. And here's the results of it, y'all. Here's what the book says. When you're willing to meet with other people once a week and tell them, report on how you're doing, this accountability, your chances of succeeding increase 70%. You have a 70% more likelihood of success when you're willing to participate in a WOM and meet with your peers once a week. So here's the weekly routine. How do you make it all work? You plan the week, you print your weekly plan, you follow it, you score it, and then you participate in the WOM. That's how you make it all work. And this is just my example. This is my fitness goal. It says what I want to weigh. I have type 2 diabetes, so I don't want my blood sugar to be higher than 150. And so those are my goals. And so I have an eating plan. And on this particular week, this was January the 16th, I was on my eating plan every day, all week long. Now that doesn't happen every week, but it did that week. And then I have a goal to train 5 days a week. And so Tuesday through Saturday, I trained that week. And so I had 5 training days. So I hit my fitness goal 100%. Does that make sense? That's just one example. It doesn't, not every week's 100%. And you can't beat yourself up when you don't have a 100%. You just say, hey, it is what it is, but I'm gonna commit to doing better next week. All right. So that's an example of how you score it. That's the scorecard. So we have the vision, the goal, the what if, the plan, the weekly routine. And then, Michelle, we're going to get to what you were talking about. We have to own it. We have to commit to it. And we have to be great in the moment. So let's talk about that, y'all. Nobody can own your goals but you. We have to take personal responsibility and own the goals. They have to be important enough and meaningful enough to us. So don't set goals that don't mean anything to you, because you won't pursue them. You won't go through the pain of the change to get it done if it's not important enough to you, if you don't have a big enough what if. So the goals have got to be big and they've got to be important. And you have to have really heartfelt what ifs that go with them, because it's going to take commitment, because y'all, it's going to cost to achieve our goals. It's not easy. It's going to cost you. And so when you look at the goals, you have to decide, is that important enough to me to commit to it? Because when we commit to it and then we don't fulfill the commitment, it's almost as if we were untruthful to ourselves. And that can be a problem when we do that repeatedly. So make sure the goals are big enough, make sure they're important enough to you so that you can commit to them, so that they're worth the cost. And then we have to be great in the moment. We have to focus on the what if and act on commitments, not feelings. Y'all see that? Too often, we as human beings, we act on our feelings, not our commitments. And that gets us in trouble. And so how do we do that? Well, let me show you this. You see, every one of us, we all have the ability to be great. We're living this life, but we're capable of living that life. We all have the ability to be great. What makes the champion is the discipline to do the extra things, especially when you don't feel like it. We find ourselves in this situation every day throughout the day. And so it takes commitment. So let me show you the fork in the road, right? You know this fork, that proverbial fork in the road. I love that image, but it really looks more like that. You know that proverbial fork in the road that we get to every day, where we know what we should do, but it's not what we want to do. We know what we want to do, but it's what we need to do. We've committed to doing this, but we don't feel like it. Y'all, that happens every day throughout the day in multiple facets of our life. And it's going to take discipline at that fork, because we encounter that fork and we look just like this young lady did. We're scratching our head and we're thinking, okay, which way am I going to go? Am I going to choose commitment to doing what I know I need to do? Or am I going to choose compromise? Am I going to sacrifice what I really want for something else? And there's always a price, y'all. There's always a price. The price for commitment is discipline. We discipline ourselves to do what we've committed to. There's always a price for compromise. You know what that is? It's regret. Every time we compromise what we know is right, eventually we regret it. Every time. And so, Michelle, to answer your question specifically, what do you do when you're at that fork and you want to choose commitment and you want to choose discipline, but the human nature in you is just really pulling you hard to compromise, even though you know you're going to pay the price of regret. This is when you ask yourself, what if? What if I choose commitment? What if I go walk today, even though I don't feel like it? Well, 10 weeks from now, 12 weeks from now, I'm going to be able to walk 5 miles. And you know how that's going to make me feel? I'm going to feel great. I'm going to feel like I've accomplished something. My spouse is going to be so proud of me. I'm going to be a 2 pant size smaller, whatever it is, right? You start thinking about when we're at that fork, if we will think, what if, it will help us choose commitment instead of compromise. That's why what ifs have to be really important to you. Y'all listen, talent is never enough in this equation. Just because you're talented doesn't mean you're going to choose commitment. Attitude and effort, they're required. We have to have the right attitude and we have to have the right effort to pursue what we're committed to doing and achieving the goal and achieving the what if, which is moving from the life we're capable of living, from the life we're living to the life we're capable of living. Y'all look, every one of us have the ability to be great. What makes a champion is discipline to do the extra things, especially when you don't feel like it. You remember me showing you that before? I want to tell you a quick story. This ring right here, it's called the Champion Ring Award. And when I first went into sales 22 and a half years ago, with the company I went to work with, this was an award. And you had to achieve so many sales in a 52-week period of time to earn it. And so I decided I want to earn that ring in the first 52 weeks of my career. In the first year, I want to earn that ring. So I set a weekly goal. Y'all, I didn't know about the 12-week year. I didn't know anything about this. I didn't even know what I was doing. But I set this weekly goal. And if I hit my goal every week, by the end of 52 weeks, I would have the ring. Makes sense, right? And so then I told my 2 boys, I said, listen, guys, if I hit my goal by Friday at noon, I'm going to come eat lunch with you at your grade school. Y'all, I'd never been able to do that. My oldest son was in 4th grade. The youngest one was in 1st grade. And I'd never been able to eat lunch with them at school. But I told them, if I hit my goal by Friday at noon, I'll come eat lunch with you. You know what that did to me? When I got to that fork in the road, when I'd been out trying to sell all day long and I'd made a sale and all I wanted to do was go home, choose compromise and go home, I thought about the what if. I thought, what am I going to tell my boys Thursday night, Friday morning? The last thing I wanted to have to tell them was their daddy did not hit his goal. And so I thought about what's it going to be like to eat lunch with them? How much fun are we going to have? I don't want to have to tell them I didn't hit my goal. So you know what I did? When I wanted to quit, I kept working. When I didn't want to start early in the morning like I needed to, I got out of bed and I started. When I was frustrated and mad, I cooled off and I kept going. It helped me, and it's not perfect, right? We don't always choose commitment. We all choose compromise periodically. But the more we get in the habit of choosing commitment and having big enough what ifs right here to help us choose it, the easier it becomes. And what happened over time is I began to choose commitment more and more. And week 52, by Friday, I needed 8 sales points to earn that ring by Friday at noon. I had a client I was going to see. If I sold it, no problem, got the goal. Problem is, I got there, they were closed. I went to another company and that guy wouldn't do business with me either. I went to another company where I was going to see the owner there and they were out of business. And I'd locked my keys in the car. Seriously. It wasn't until 4:30 Friday afternoon that I got my keys I got my car unlocked with the coat hanger. 4:30, last day, 52 weeks, and I need 8 sales points. And I remembered that somebody had given me a referral. I went to the referral and I sold him at 5:15 on Friday afternoon. I had my points and I had the ring. Y'all, not because I did anything, not because of me. Don't hear that. It happened because I had a big goal, but the most important reason it happened is because I had a really big what if, which was I was going to take my boys to lunch every day. I mean, every Friday at school, and that was important to me. So y'all, what determines whether this is going to work for you or not is not the mental understanding about everything. It's how important are the what ifs to you? How important are the what ifs? Y'all listen, it's easy to become a victim to COVID, to the storms, the outside circumstances. Y'all, we don't control any of that. The only thing we control is the way we think and our actions, our attitude and our effort. But that's enough. If we're willing to control our attitude and our effort, if we're willing to control setting the goals, having the what ifs, knowing the vital few and doing them every day. And when we don't want to do them, we do them anyway because the what ifs are big enough. When that's important enough to us, we're going to move from the life we're living to the life we're capable of living. Because listen, y'all, don't settle. Don't settle for anything less than the life you're capable of. Make a commitment to be great each day and watch what can happen in just 12 short weeks. Let's move from the life we're living to the life we're capable of, the life we want to live. Now, y'all, remember, it's not going to be easy, but I promise it'll be worth it. So there it is. There's the 6 steps. And there's another resource for you. So we got the 12-week year, and then they have the 12-week year field guide. That's kind of a workbook to help you actually put it all into play. All right. Okay, so it's about 3:30 or so, and I think I'm supposed to stop and invite any questions. If I got questions or comments or observations.
This was really great. Thank you.
Yeah, Michelle, sure.
Yeah, I think that's something that's missed a lot when you're setting a goal is asking yourself what you would do if you achieve that goal. You can plan it out and make that. So that really was particularly helpful to hear that and to create that different mindset. So that'll be good going forward.
Thank you, Amber. That's the distinguishing factor in this book is the what if, and it's the game changer. And by the way, if you establish a what if, and then you find that you keep choosing compromise instead of commitment, the what if's not big enough. The what if's not important to you. You didn't pick a good enough what if. That's what
tie yourself to the train tracks a little bit, huh?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They'll make you work on that 9 a little harder, huh?
That's right.
Mark, one of the things I really loved about your presentation, and it was so good to hear you speak today, that was wonderful. I feel all fired up now, is that you made your what if for having lunch with your boys also your accountability, right?
Yes.
So I really thought that was brilliant because I love that it created more of a sense of urgency for you to complete your goal, which is something we definitely understand themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what, if I can add to that, is it Charissa? Did I say it correctly? Carissa?
Yeah, it's Carissa. Nice
Carissa,
to meet you.
Sorry about that. So if I can add to that, you know, I didn't hit my goal every week. And that's okay. Because my sons learned some valuable lessons. 1, you don't hit your goal every time you set one. 2, you don't reward yourself when you don't hit your goal. Right? So I didn't eat lunch with them, even though I wanted to, but I didn't hit the goal. So you don't reward yourself when you don't hit your goal, and you reset the goal and you run after it the next week. So there were some really valuable lessons, whether I hit the goal or I didn't.
I have a question. This is Emily. Hey.
Emily?
You, in your personal example, you listed 5: faith, family, friends, fitness, and finances. So, like if someone is starting this from scratch, do you suggest starting with 1? Do you suggest starting with all 5? How do you get started?
Well, thank you, Emily. Great question. I think the first step is to identify your priorities. What really are the priorities in your life,
Mhm.
right? And whatever those are, and you know, they're probably different than mine. I'm just sharing you mine.
Sure.
It's just real important to identify your priorities, because I'm just a believer in we all want to know why we're here, right? Find your why. We all want to know, why are we here? What's our purpose? What are we really to be about? And the real principle in this book is what I asked you earlier is, when you're at your best, who are you to other people? When you're at your best, who are you to other people? I asked that one time in a setting like this, and one guy said to me, when I'm at my best, who I am to other people is I'm a listener. He said, I listen to people when I'm at my best. Other people said, I'm an encourager, you know? So when what that does is that can help you begin to understand what your purpose is. And when you understand your purpose, it helps to identify the priorities, because your priorities feed into the purpose. And then you can set goals within the priorities, right? So I have a goal related to faith. I have a goal related to family. I have a goal related to fitness and finances and friends. So I have those goals, and then we have the daily actions that we run after within each of the goals. I don't know, Emily, if that answered your question, but I guess I would say start with your priorities, then look at the goals within them.
Sure. Thanks.
I don't know if I missed it at one point, but how often do you reevaluate your goals?
Okay, thank you, Sean. Great question. So, you know, the year, a 12-month year is broken down into 4 quarters, right? And every 4 quarters has 13 weeks. So this strategy of the 12-week year is designed for you to have the goals set and you run toward those in 12 weeks. Then you take the 13th week and you evaluate what just happened, and you reset for the next quarter and the next 12 weeks, and you run for 12 weeks, and then you take the 13th week, evaluate, reset, and keep going.
And to start, maybe digging deeper into helping find your purpose. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think for this setting, I would recommend Find Your Why. Read this book. It's by Simon Sinek. He wrote Start with Why. Your sales team is, we've talked a lot about this, because the main premise of this book is that people don't buy what we sell, they buy why we sell it. Okay. And so there's some great principles in that, but then he wrote this book with a couple of his colleagues, and it's a great workbook for helping to determine your purpose. This would be the best recommendation I have for you on that. So let me say this to y'all. You know, we talk about setting these goals and all that. Maybe I can simplify it a little bit. And we talked about the life we're living and the life we're capable of living. Who you're going to be 5 years from now is determined by 2 things: the books you read and the people you hang around. The books you read and the people you hang around. Those 2 things will determine who you are 5 years from now. the most important thing I could say to you is read, start reading. And it almost doesn't even matter what it is. It kind of does, but the main thing is read. Here's what happens, y'all. When we don't read, we get stuck with our own thoughts, and our own thoughts become toxic. I know none of y'all ever do this, but you probably have friends do that beat themselves up, right? Y'all never do that, right? But you've got friends that do. It's easy to beat ourselves up, and our thoughts get toxic. And we start playing that comparison game where we compare our insides. See, the problem with comparison is you're comparing yourself to other people's outsides. You're comparing your insides to other people's outsides. And most of our insides don't compare well to other people's outsides, because we become very adept at portraying this image that we want to portray, because we believe it's going to garner the kind of respect and admiration that we crave. But on the inside, we're different than that on the outside. We all are. The question is, how different are we, right? And the more different we are, the less character we have. The less different we are, the more character we have, because we're the same person no matter where we are. That's character, okay? And so what happens sometimes when we're setting goals is we fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to other people, and don't do that. Please don't do that. Setting goals is not about bettering what other people do. It's about helping yourself become better a little bit at a time. I told the class earlier, so I'm a triathlete. And when I first started doing triathlons, my buddy told me, he said, Mark, he had been doing them for years. And he said, Mark, there's always going to be somebody that runs faster, runs longer, rides further. There's always going to be somebody that does it better. He said, don't compare yourself with any of them. The only thing is, are you getting better every race? Are you getting better every time? And that's all this is, y'all. Getting a little bit better never stops, right? That's part of your theme. Thrive Camp, where better never stops. Well, it doesn't. Embrace it. It's a great journey. And you can navigate it on purpose by adopting the principles of the 12-week year. Okay. Anybody else or other comments? Okay.
Thank you so much, Wade, Mark, Wade. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend that you get that Find Your Why, and then the 12-week year, and maybe the 12-week year field guide. And those are available on Kindle too. If some of you like that, I like getting the books where I can write in them and take notes and all that kind of stuff. But whichever, the most important thing is to read.
And if the power goes out, you can still read it.
That's right. That's right. At least while the sun's out, right? And or your phone battery lasts, or your flashlight battery, your headlamp.
Well, thank you for inspiring me to read more.
Well, if that's all that happened, I feel like this is a success. I really
I
think
didn't-
it will.
yeah, no, there was a lot more that went on, but I do read, but I don't read as much as I once did. And I'm glad you said that, because I think back and I'm like, I was a lot smarter when I read more,
Hey,
or at least I perceived I was, right?
hey, this is what will happen to you. I promise you, you'll read. And if you'll get in the habit of just reading a little bit every morning early, just read a little bit every morning, or maybe on your lunch break, just take 10, 15 minutes to read while you take a break for lunch. If you'll do that, what happens is invariably you'll be in conversation with people that afternoon, the next day, and all of a sudden something will just come out of your mouth and it will sound really smart. And it's not you, it's what you read that morning. It's amazing how it works, but it does.
It's just so funny because, as parents, that's all I do is encourage my kids to read all the time. Their free time, and go get a book, go do this, go read for a little bit. And then even in school, they're encouraged to read 20 minutes a night.
Yeah.
And I feel like as an adult, that does kind of drop off, other things take
Yeah.
precedence and priority. And so it is a nice reminder. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, most of you may be like I did. When I got out of college, I said, oh man, I promised myself I'm never reading another book in the rest of my life. I didn't want to read anything after I got out of college, but it took a while. But then it's just something that it really is it's a life changer for sure.
Then you could read what you wanted to read instead of what you had to read.
Yeah, exactly.
Mark, thank you so much.
Yeah,
This was awesome.
Really good.
Awesome stuff.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, guys. All right. Hey, have a great camp. Hey, listen, I'm going to get to talk to you tomorrow too. It's going to be really good if I say so myself. It's on the ABCs of adaptive leadership. And you know what? Every one of you are leaders. Because a leader, all a leader means is that you influence. Leadership is influence. Influence is leadership. Everybody influences. We don't get to choose that. We all influence. The only question is, what kind of influence will we be? And through all the change that's happened, how do we adapt and how do we lead families, friends, work, etc., through all this change? We're going to talk about that tomorrow afternoon. I'm looking forward to it. Okay, we'll talk with you then.
Thank you, Mark. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I think we're going to head back to the main room.
Wow, it's really, really quiet right now. Hold on.
We're all just
Where's
absorbing all that great info.
Where's our really cool?
That was
music
an
we had
awesome,
before?
awesome meeting there with Mark.
It really was. He's very inspirational.
Yeah.
Yeah.
love Mark Wade.
There it
He
is.
was, I'm so fired up right now. It's not even funny,
Yeah, he would do that every Friday with the sales team. We would be ready to charge the hill. He's motivational for sure. So
Yeah, I feel like that was an experience for sure. Yeah.
Way back in the day, when I used to be in sales, I worked for Kirby Vacuum Cleaners when we did door-to-door sales. And quarterly, they would host these huge, rallies, big pavilion, and everybody there, and the entire meeting, you'd be there for 6 hours, was exactly like that. Just everybody fired up and jumping around, and it was intense.
Yeah, I used to DJ those parties back in the day for Kirby.
Did you?
But yeah, they were all pumped up. It was just crazy. They were just
Oh yeah.
so pumped up.
But man, you'd leave those
Yeah.
rallies and you would just go sell your little heart out.
Yeah, that's the beautiful